What's going on, everyone? In this video, we're going to be going over some things like water purification, filtration, and water sources and how to assess them. Stay tuned. Now, one thing to consider before you go hiking, camping, or whatever outdoor activity you're going to go out and do is know the area you're going into and know the region surrounding it. For instance, you need to know if any of the land surrounding the place that you're going to be at has farmland. Are there any factories? Are there any mine sites? Sewage plants, whatnot. You get the picture. And the reason why is because when you know where those things are, you can better assess your source of water better. Now, with that said, those water sources that flow downstream from those sites are generally going to be more polluted and are going to have more bacteria, silt, dirt, as well as chemicals, pollutants, and especially farmland too. You got to be aware of that. Farmland is going to have fertilizers, pesticides, stuff like that probably could never get filtered or purified out of a water source. Another thing to look at is algae. Now, algae could be good or bad depending on the situation, and again, each situation that you are put in can be different and should be assessed in that way. Now, algae is a good thing only because it acts as a filter, and it filters bacteria, microorganisms, or whatnot from the water source. Now, it could also be a bad thing because when there's an abundance of pollutants, chemicals, bacteria, whatever you want to call it, the more algae there's going to be. So that's one thing you got to consider when finding a water source. Now, of course, the most common method of purifying or filtering your water is going to be commercial grade filters. Now, I always carry a Sawyer Mini system with me at all times just because it's convenient, small, lightweight. But what we're going to be going over today is in case you are ever put in the situation that you don't have that filter readily available. Now, in extreme situations or circumstances when you might not have a filter, or you might not be able to do something as, boil your water, or even use tablets, there are general rules of thumb that you can follow. One of them is that running water is generally better than still water. Only because still water can actually breed a lot more organisms and bacteria and whatnot than running water, of course. Clear water is better than dirty water, duh. Another thing to look for is discolored water. Now, discolored water obviously is an indicator of pollutants or bacteria or other microorganisms that can cause you harm. Another thing to consider is that water from under the ground is generally going to be a lot better and cleaner than water from above ground. Now, there are a few ways of purifying or filtering your water. The most common and most effective one is boiling your water over a fire or even a stove. But like every situation, things are different and should be assessed that way. Another way is rock boiling. Same concept, but we'll go over that here later in the video. Most common method of filtering your water or purifying it, though, is also commercial filters. Widely available through many convenience stores such as Walmart, Gander Mountain, Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, etc. You get the picture. But another one, and the most time-consuming one, is solar distillation or solar stilling. And essentially what that is you dig a hole in the ground, cover it with a tarp, you put your cup down in the hole, and you put a small pebble or some sort of weight to sort of cone that tarp down into dripping water. And essentially what that does is condensates the water from the ground, and it evaporates up into the tarp, and it eventually goes down and drips down into your cup. Now, that is very time consuming depending on the situation or the environment, but it's also one of the most effective ones and the purest form of water that you can get. So with everything said, we're gonna go get some water, we're gonna get a few other items, and we're gonna build a fire. We're gonna purify some water. Now, one of the things you'll need for what we're going to make is sand. And basically, it's harder to find in some places more than others. Sometimes it's more abundant, but if you're up in the mountains and you're around a stream, river, or whatnot, usually the best place you'll find sand, rather than digging, is near creek beds or places of erosion, like this root system here, where you don't have to do any digging, and essentially the sand just deposits right here, and you can just essentially just grab it, scoop it up, and it's right there for the taking. Now, one of the most important items you're going to need to build this this filtration system is a plastic bottle. Now, it doesn't have to be a plastic bottle. You can basically use your imagination, but anything that can be some sort of container. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to cut a hole at the top here. Just basically cut around it right at the top. That way we have some place to pour the water. Now, next, what we're going to do is we have cloth. Now, I just have an old bandana, but it's clean, it's washed, and we're just going to cut a little section of it out. Lay it out here. We're essentially just going to cut a little bit out. That way we can put it, there we go. I'm just going to basically ball it up a little bit, get rid of the string here. I'm going to fold it up just like this a little bit. Then we're just going to stuff it in there. Right at the bottom there. That way it catches any of the loose sediment or whatnot that we're going to be putting in there. Now, next is going to be the sand. And the sand is going to go right on top of this here. So, now this is the same sand we just collected over at that creek bed here. We're just going to fill that up. We have the most important layer coming next, and that's charcoal. So now that I've fetched some water out of the river, I'm going to build us a fire, get some charcoal, and we're going to go from there. So now that we have a fire going, I'm gonna let this burn a little bit, add some more wood on it, get some big pieces of charcoal, and we're gonna add that to the water bottle, and we're gonna go from there. All right, so now that I have some charcoal, I'm gonna sift through it here and put it in this handkerchief here that I cut earlier. And I'm gonna gather up the charcoal, ground it up a little bit, then I'm gonna take it down, wash it off, and then we're going to put it in the bottle, and we're going to start filtering some water. All right, now that I've got some water from the river here, I'm going to dump it in this here, this container here. Then we're going to start filtering some water. I got the filter set up here, kind of rigged a little bit differently, but you know, push comes to shove, it'll have to work. So with that in mind, I got my container with the water in here, and we're just gonna pour it in. Oh. And then we're gonna let that filter out, and we're probably gonna let it run one time just to get all the crap out, and then we're gonna filter some water, and then we're gonna start purifying it. I'm actually going to have to improvise and hold this by hand, but you see how you have to sort of run it out the first time? See how dirty that water's coming out there? Yeah, it's from all the crap in the charcoal and the sand and whatnot, but just to save some time and for me holding the camera here, I'm going to get the camera turned off here and let this filter out, and then I'll come back to you when I dump it out, and we're going to run another course of water through it. Then we're going to boil it. So I just had to get rid of some of the water there. As you can see from the last video clip, it was really dirty. But you really have to do that the first time. Just run it all through to get all the sediment and all the other crap that comes out. Mainly because of the charcoal and the sand down here at the bottom. But I just changed the water out, and you can see obviously how clear it is. So with that said, I'm going to filter the rest of this river water here, and then we are going to get into some rock boiling. That's right, rock boiling. So, as you see, I have a full canteen now of water. There's still some little crap in it. But I just wanted to show you guys how that filtration system works. Now, with that in mind, that is a filter, not a purifier, so you still have to boil your water to get it clean, or to essentially make it drinkable. But again, like every situation, if you can't provide yourself with a fire like so, then you got to do what you got to do. So I'm going to reach over here and grab this rock here if I can. Alrighty, I'm going to grab a hold of this here with my, come on you, there we go. So it's been in the fire for a while now, and essentially what you want to keep doing is dropping rocks in the water to heat it up, and eventually it will bring it to a boil. So with that in mind, it's another thing that's going to take some time, and I'll get back to you guys when I have a little bit of a boil going. So I've been out here for almost 2 hours heating up rocks, throwing them in the water, and as you can see, that water is actually just really dirty just from the rocks. I should have washed them off, but oh well. And it's got steam coming off just a little bit. I actually just put this next to the fire just a second ago, and I'm going to put that right back there. That way I can get it to boil, and then I'm going to drink it. Alrighty, so we've got that water going at a hard boil now for about, I'd say about 10-15 minutes. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take it off here. Oh, that's hot. Oh, that's hot. Oh, alrighty. So now that we brought that to a boil, I'm going to let that cool off, and then I'm going to show you guys that it is safe to drink. Okie dokie, so the time has come to finally drink this water. It's finally cooled enough, and just to show you guys that I didn't change it out with anything or any new water. It's still the same water. We lost a lot of water due to the evaporation and taking the rocks in and out, but it's still discolored because of the rocks, has that dirt in there, and just to prove to you guys it's the same water. So here we go. Ooh, so much for filtering it. Oh well, it's probably just because it was next to the fire the whole time, and it's just the discoloration from the rocks and whatnot. But oh, it's like a metallic taste. Anyway, that's pretty much all I had to share with you guys today. I'm Elliot. See you next time.